Greetings and salutations. This is Spectre, and welcome to the second episode of the Sociopath's Manifesto. Today's subject: press start, playing the game. And I've heard this terminology used quite a bit, how sociopaths play the game. And in a weird kind of abstract manner, I sort of do this in every video. You've noticed that in the background of every video, I'm playing a new game. And as much as you'll see me playing something new or something recent, you'll never see me lose, so to speak. Sure, I may lose a couple of lives here in Overwatch, but in the end, you'll notice that my team wins the game. This goes back to a sort of need to feel infallible. Sociopaths very much like to feel perfect in a sort of kind of strange way. I really want to drive that part home, to sort of make sure everyone is aware of that, that there's no like there's an obvious manipulation tactic in play with every video that I make, sort of underlining how we think, and in a kind of way it's sort of a method of showing you how we think and giving you an idea on why winning is like our number one priority all the time. Now, moving on to the next subject. Now I've got 4 different manipulation tactics that I have used in the past. I've given them all names because I sort of want to coin the phrases that I'm coming up with here, since no one really has yet. I mean, they talk about the methods that sociopaths use, gaslighting, mirroring, and stuff like that, but they never bring up the exact manipulation tactics, and they never give those names. As such, I'd like to start by talking about a manipulation tactic I call the Viper's Triad. Now picture this. You and the sociopath get into an argument. In a lot of instances, we're the ones that initiate it. We light the fuse and we start the fire in a way. But then suddenly we stop, and there's just nothing there. There's no more anger. In fact, we're rather antagonistic at this point. We, for one reason or another, are trying to make you feel like you're the crazy one. And we instill a sense of doubt in you. In certain instances where you have friends nearby, usually this works best when they're your own friends. They're individuals that you trust specifically, not the friends of the sociopath. I mean, because personally, who gives a crap what their friends think? Just think about it. But when it's your friends, and he has convinced them that you're the unreasonable one, that you're the one that's crazy, then you'll doubt yourself. There's no way around it. You will believe your friends and side with the possibility that you could very well be crazy. We like to instill that sort of doubt in you, because at that point, if you doubt yourself, then you're the one who's going to apologize. We don't have to physically say sorry. We don't have to show you how much we mean something when the fault is on you. Now I'm going to move on to another subject which just sort of goes hand in hand with this, and it's ironically named Perfect Hand. Now, this is the act of appearing as though the sociopath has an answer for anything, used primarily to create hopelessness in the victim. Now, just imagine a situation where you want to fight back against the sociopath. You want to sort of validate yourself. Well, the sociopath has contingencies in place most of the time, or sometimes he just convinces you that he has contingencies in place when none really exist. The act of perfect hand usually puts the individual in a position where suddenly they don't know what to do. They're stuck. They're not capable of escape. They sort of just have to put up with the abuse at this point, because the sociopath is in control of everything, is what they believe. And there's like the concept of mask slipping at this point. A sociopath may even become a little bit more comfortable with showing you his real personality rather than, some facade he puts up. At this point, when he's got you in a state of hopelessness, when he's got you doubting yourself, he's in control. The next concept I will refer to as doublethink. Now, doublethink is a concept that comes or originates from the George Orwell novel 1984. Doublethink in their world is represented by the famous phrase 2 + 2 = 5. It's sort of like you can see how that doesn't add up, but individuals will believe it. This goes sort of hand in hand with the idea of cognitive dissonance. An individual can believe one thing despite seeing another, despite the reality being another. I'm sorry, that just sounds like that would fit better there. Now I have this written as a definition that doublethink is a concept that creates a disbelief in the victim. Subject feels at odds with their previous perception of the sociopath and the truth, incapable of accepting reality. Now at this point, yeah, you're going to be in a mental ward at some capacity in the future because you're broken. You see things one way when reality is altogether different. And I want to highlight a quote from a self-professed empath. Her name is Sasha Sloan, and what she says is, sociopathic and narcissistic abuse will destroy your life. They won't stop until you are 200 pounds, an alcoholic, a drug abuser, doing self-harm, in a mental ward, attempting suicide, or dead. And this is true. This is exactly true. Especially if you've gotten into the vindictive side of the sociopath, where maybe he feels like you've wronged him in some way. Case in point, I brought up an individual called the Sage before. Now, I'd hate to say this, but there are various instances where I really wasn't going to stop until he stopped breathing. I understand that it's wrong, or it's supposed to be at least, but honestly, I've never quite grasped why. In reality, I'd say that, an individual does do you wrong, shouldn't you have the right to push back? I want to talk about the last instance that goes hand in hand with Sasha Sloan's quote, because it really does fit the build quite significantly. And this is the concept I will refer to as checkmate. Now, this is the sociopath's method of appearing omnipotent, as if in control of every outcome and knowing of everything that you've said, even behind closed doors, often through hearsay and the use of a group of willing spies who forward information to the sociopath that he then dresses up as if knowing all along. Sometimes even utilizes quotes from the private conversations, word for word. Now, this particular tactic works best when the victim is I lost my train of thought. Give me a second here. This tends to work best when the subject cuts contact with the sociopath, when they completely decide they want them out of their lives. Again, this goes hand in hand with the vindictiveness and the not stopping until you're dead thing. In this instance, the sociopath will often use these methods as a sort of mind game. I've used it as a sort of mind game. Let's dial back there for a second. When I was dealing with a sage, I oftentimes would send people that he could trust, individuals that were particularly, specifically implanted into his life for the very purpose of collecting information and forwarding it to me, especially over social media, where I can get exact quotes word for word from the victim. In the sage's case, I would often use this as a sort of method of showing him that no matter where you go, I have control here. I know what you're saying. I know where you're hiding. I know what you're planning. And in his instance, the sage really was constantly planning some method of trying to get back at me. Of course, before he even had the chance to have these things go into effect, I knew, and I had someone in position to do whatever they could to dismantle it. Sabotage of any kind. It was just common business with me. There were moments where I would take conversations from individuals he had grown incredibly fond of. I would wait months at a time before I would pull the rug under him that they were working for me. And then there are instances with other individuals where these individuals weren't exactly working for me, but for one reason or another I had access to their accounts, and I could check their messages with other people and take what benefited me, screenshots and direct quotes. Sometimes I would go as far as to send them the messages of others as they were receiving them, and those instances where it'd just be sort of a way of showing them that I'm watching, I can see you, and I would make sure that there was some sort of discourse in place, some method of instilling this oh so precious idea that I was in complete control. Now I'm running out of time here, and thank God, because this is like my 10th take on the same subject and my mouth is dry. But I'm going to close this on a interesting note, I'd like to say. And that is, even though I'm telling you these particular methods of control and manipulation, they're always changing. There will be new ones probably in the next week. Just keep on your guard. And This is it for today's episode of the Sociopath Manifesto. Please stay tuned.